The man who was a startup investor in some of the biggest brands from Reddit, Stripe, Airbnb, and now one that I'm sure you all know of, OpenAI. The man who is being called the Messiah figure by billionaire Peter Thiel and a king by some of his mentors. But whilst Sam is standing in front of Congress telling us that AI is just a friendly tool, he's also stockpiling guns, gold, potassium iodide, antibiotics, batteries, water, and gas masks. You have to ask yourself, if the future is so bright, why is Sam hoarding enough supplies and planning for the end of the world? Today, we are peeling back the skin on OpenAI. We're going to talk about the just trust me bro business model, the $1 trillion spending spree, and the chilling 2017 manifesto where Altman admitted that we might have to merge with machines or face extinction. So do buckle up, because the open in OpenAI is about to feel a lot more like a trapdoor, and even I was a little bit thrown by the information I found in my research. Welcome to the world of Sam Altman. Now, before we go any further, I am an advocate for AI. I think it is the future, and I personally invest in AI, semiconductors, and the technology world myself. But I also like to know everything else that's going on in the background of it. Everyone knows Sam Altman mostly because of his involvement in ChatGPT. But before ChatGPT was a household name as we all know it now, Sam Altman was the master of the phantom user. His first big venture, called Looped, was a social mapping app, but the problem was that nobody actually used it. Towards the end, it reportedly only had 500 active users. And when media called him out, Sam claimed it was 100 times that amount. Now, the company was eventually sold to Green Dot, a deal investors called very dirty and a favor for the VCs, and the tech was very promptly trashed. Altman walked away with millions, and it was the birth of his trust me bro business model. And this is how the business model works. First of all, promise a world-changing utility. Second of all, blur the actual metrics. And third, exit with a golden parachute before the lights go out. Now, following this, Sam decided to move to Y Combinator, otherwise known as YC. It's the ultimate startup bootcamp. And while serving as president, he allegedly used his inside information to invest his own firm, called Hydrazine Capital, into the very companies he was supposed to be mentoring neutrally. Now, reports suggest up to 75% of his firm's money was in YC companies. It's a pattern we see over and over again. Sam creates a neutral foundation and then quietly builds a throne straight in the middle of it. In 2015, OpenAI, as we all know, was born. The pitch was absolutely beautiful. It was pitched as a non-profit, and it was dedicated to helping humanity. Elon Musk put up the cash because he was terrified that Google had a monopoly on the AI talent. The mission was very clear: keep AI open source so it doesn't become a profit-maximizing demon from hell. And then, if you actually fast forward to today, and the open in OpenAI is basically just a joke. Elon is currently suing them, suggesting they change the name to Closed AI. And why? Because, well, in 2019, they ditched the non-profit purity and created a for-profit branch. So suddenly, the scheme of helping humanity took a back seat to a $13 billion deal with Microsoft. So it's a classic circular economy. Microsoft gives now OpenAI billions, and OpenAI immediately spends those billions on Microsoft cloud servers. That's the way it's now working. It's like your mum giving you $20 for chores, only if you spend them at her lemonade stand. And let's talk about the actual idea of data. To train these godlike models, they needed your words. Sam sat on the board of Reddit and was a major shareholder. In 2015, OpenAI started aggressively scraping everything you've ever posted on Reddit. So when his old friend 𝗟𝗘𝗧'𝗦 tried to make academic data free, the government hounded him into very tragic suicide. But when Sam does it to build a $300 billion product, he gets a seat at the White House. Now, let's talk about the next points, and that's revenue and power. So if you think that your electricity bill is high, just wait until you see good old Mr. Altman's shopping list. OpenAI is committed to spending over $1 trillion on infrastructure over the next 8 years. And for context, as of early 2026, and according to their CFO, they are currently bringing in about $20 billion a year in revenue. So it's a little bit like earning $50,000 or pounds a year and then putting a $4 million or pounds on your credit card. It just doesn't make any sense. So where exactly is all of that money going? Well, power. Sam's very audacious goal is to build 250 gigawatts of capacity by 2033. That's enough electricity to power all of India with 1.5 billion people, just to keep the chatbots from humming away. And here's where the whole conspiracy gets very meta. Since the world doesn't have that much spare energy, Sam has a solution, which is nuclear power. And funnily enough, he's heavily invested in nuclear startups like Helion and Oklo. And if you want to see what else he's invested in, I've actually pasted a link to all of the other companies he's invested in the description. There's 14 companies that are backed by him, and some may actually take you by surprise. So step one is create a technology that essentially eats the world's power. Step two is to own the companies that sell the power. And step three is to just sit back and profit from it. It's kind of like Batman not only fighting crime in Gotham, but also owning the actual company that manufactures the guns the criminals are actually using. It's like a horrible little circle there. I say all of this about AI, but let's be real. AI is the future. No matter what you say about it, it is going to happen. Now, I don't just analyze these companies, I am deep in the trenches. While Sam is out there buying up nuclear power plants and building his brain in the desert, I am there investing. With global infrastructure spending projected to hit around 60% to $700 billion in 2026 alone, the window to get on the right side of this trade is closing quickly. We are talking about the largest capital investment in human history. I manage my own semiconductor and tech strategy through eToro, and if you want to see exactly how I'm positioning myself for this crazy little fallout we've got going on, you can see my entire verified public portfolio via the link in the description, and you'll have a link there to my wonderful new Discord channel, so please do join, where we talk about technology and investing and everything else AI. But here's the most important part for those of you who aren't full-time analysts. Don't try to guess the winners in the market yourself. In a market this volatile, where a single Altman tweet can wipe out an entire sector, even the pros do get burned. And that is why I recommend eToro's Copy Trader. You can find a professional investor who actually understands the nuances of the GPU supply chain or nuclear energy, and set your account to replicate their moves automatically in real time. It's free to use, and honestly, it's the only way I'd suggest a beginner to navigate the market whilst learning how to invest. There are thousands of investors on the platform, but I have done the whole hard work bit for you. There's another link in the description which will take you through to find my top 5 eToro investors that you can start copying immediately. And just remember, you can start small. You don't have to be a millionaire to actually start investing. Start small, but the key is to be on the field before the next 60% jump in spending hits the world in, well, 2026, and God knows what's going to happen in 2027. So moving back to the story, the $1 trillion spending spree that we mentioned isn't just about electricity. It's about Project Stargate. Go to YouTube, Watch some more videos on these, it's incredible. Altman's $500 billion master plan to build the physical brain of the world. That's exactly what it is. Formally unveiled in January 2025 alongside SoftBank's president and President Trump, Stargate is a massive network of AI gigafactories. Now, the initial Stargate AI data center in Abilene, Texas, will occupy approximately 875 acres, making it roughly the size of New York's Central Park. This massive campus, part of a $500 billion project, is designed to house 8 AI factory halls, consume 1.2 gigawatts of power, which is enough energy to power about 750,000 homes and support up to 400,000 NVIDIA GB200 GPUs that usually cost around $60,000 each. And they're going to have 400,000 of them. It's madness. Now, Sam is currently touring the globe selling a concept called sovereign AI. So to nations like India, the UK, and the UAE, in February 2026, he stood at the Indian AI Impact Summit and launched OpenAI for India, signing a massive deal with the Tata Group to build local data centers designed for data residency and security. Now, whilst Altman promises these countries independence, he is effectively becoming the custodial architect of their national intelligence. If a country's entire government and enterprise sector runs on Stargate's nodes, who really holds the kill switch? The local government or the man in the bunker? Countries aren't actually owning their AI. They're essentially renting a proprietary brain that they can't fully inspect or control unless they start building their own giant data centers throughout their own countries, which definitely is a possibility and I have heard lots of rumors of, and I hope it does happen. And in India, OpenAI has already become the first customer of Tata's Hyperthought data center business, locking in an initial 100 megawatts of capacity with plans to scale to 1 gigawatt. So they're working on things themselves. It's a $500 billion shakedown where the price of sovereignty is a permanent subscription to Altman's black box. He's not just building a product anymore, he's building the digital infrastructure of every major nation on Earth. Let's move on to the really sci-fi stuff. This is the part Sam doesn't talk about in front of Congress. In 2017, he published a blog post titled The Merge. In it, he laid out a worrying vision that humans are facing a binary choice. We either fuse with the machines or we face extinction. So he wasn't talking about using ChatGPT to write emails, he was talking about brain-machine interfaces, chips in your skulls, gene-editing brain cells to turn us into a hive mind. He literally wrote that the AI species he's creating will lead to the end of the world as we know it. Doesn't mean it's the end of the world, but it's the end of the world as we know it. Look at that however you like. Even the godfathers of AI are sweating at the moment. Geoffrey Hinton and 𝗟𝗧𝗧, I can never say his name, I am so sorry, OpenAI's former chief scientists, have compared the way AI will treat us to how we treat animals. Stuart Russell, who is an OBE recipient and Time Magazine's most influential voice in AI for 2025, poses a very terrifying question. Why do gorillas exist?
The gorilla problem is the problem that gorillas face with respect to humans. A few million years ago, the human line branched off from the gorilla line in evolution. They have no say in whether they continue to exist. We are much smarter than they are. If we chose to, we could make them extinct in a couple of weeks, and there's nothing they can do about it. So that's the gorilla problem, right? It's just the problem a species faces when there's another species that's much more capable.
Now, in November 2023, the OpenAI board finally had enough. They actually fired Sam in a Friday afternoon ambush. They claimed he wasn't consistently candid, which is essentially CEO speak for he lies to us. They were worried about his side projects like WorldCoin, which wants to scan your eyeballs with a silver orb in exchange for crypto. The shit this guy comes out with is just astounding. Honestly, he has fingers and toes and his in every pie going. This guy is basically teabagging the tech industry. I'm lost for words when I read some of the stuff about what he's tried to do. But Sam is, as his mentor said, extremely good at becoming powerful. Within 72 hours of him getting let go from OpenAI, he staged a legendary counter-coup. He got 95% of the staff to threaten to quit unless he was reinstated. And some of this was down to partially loyalty, but mostly because a massive share sale was about to happen. If Sam stayed fired, the employee's stock would be worth essentially zero. But if he came back, they'd all be millionaires. And the fact is, money always wins. By Tuesday, Sam was back. The board members who fired him were gone, and he was more powerful than ever. He proved that he was essentially unfireable. Seriously, this man has me lost for words, but I am actually, I'm not gonna say I'm inspired, but it's quite ingenious of some of the stuff he does. The way he can get away with it is incredible. That's power right there. As we sit here in 2026, the AI race is reaching a fever pitch. OpenAI is seeking a $750 billion valuation. They're making deals with Qatari governments and Amazon, and they are building a world where your identity, like WorldCoin that scans your eyes, your energy, like 𝗟𝗘𝗧, and your intelligence, GPT, all sit in one huge single basket. Now, Sam tells us this will lead to a world of abundance where nobody has to work, very similar to what Elon Musk once said. But remember his promise to the Reddit community in 2014 to give them 10% of the company's value. That never happened due to, and I quote here, regulatory issues, he said. The data shows a man who moves very fast, breaks things, and then buys weapons and builds bunkers just in case he breaks too much. He says we have 1 to 5 years before AI surpasses human intelligence in almost every single way. So do we trust the man who got scurvy whilst chasing power? Do we trust the man who says we must become part machine to actually survive? Or are we just the animals watching the highway being built straight through our forest? The dark secret is that AI isn't coming, it's here. The secret is that it is already here, and it's hungry for your data. And the man leading the charge has already bought his ticket to most likely a bunker with a ton of weapons and antibiotics and everything else he may need to keep surviving for quite a long period of time, along with many other billionaire CEOs out there. So let me know what your thoughts are. He is a questionable human being that's done a hell of a lot, but I want to know your thoughts. Comment below. Take it easy. Peace.